O Blessed One, Shakyamuni Buddha, precious treasury of compassion, bestower of supreme inner peace, you who love all beings without exception, are the source of happiness and goodness, and you guide us to the liberating path. Your body is a wish-fulfilling jewel. Your speech is supreme purifying nectar, and your mind is refuge for all living beings. With folded hands I turn to you, supreme unchanging friend. I request from the depths of my heart, please give me the light of your wisdom to dispel the darkness of my mind, and to heal my mental continuum. Please nourish me with your goodness, that I in turn may nourish all beings with an unceasing banquet of delight. Through your compassionate intention, your blessings and virtuous deeds, and my strong wish to rely upon you, may all suffering quickly cease, and all happiness and joy be fulfilled, and may holy Dhamma flourish forevermore. May the whole ground become completely pure, as level as the palm of a hand, and as smooth as lapis lazuli. May all of space be filled with offerings from gods and men, both set out and imagined, like offerings of thee, O good one. In the space in front, on a lion throne, on a cushion of lotus, sun and moon, sits Buddha Shakyamuni, the essence of all my kind teachers, surrounded by the assembly of direct and indirect gurus, Yidams, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, heroes, solitary conquerors, heroes, dakinis, and Dharma protectors. I and all my kind mothers, fearing samsara's torments, turn to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, the only sources of refuge. From now until enlightenment, to the three jewels we go for refuge. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings until we achieve enlightenment, go for refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Through the virtues I collect by giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues I collect by giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues I collect by giving and other perfections, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of all. From the hearts of all refuge objects, light and nectar stream down and dissolve into myself and all living beings, purifying negative karma and obstructions, increasing our lives, our virtues, and Dharma realization. May everyone be happy. May everyone be free from misery. May no one ever be separated from their happiness. May everyone have equanimity, free from hatred and attachment. You, protector of all beings, great destroyer of hosts of demons, please, O Blessed One, Lord of all, come to this place with your retinue. With my body, speech, and mind, humbly I prostrate, and make offerings both set out and imagined. I confess my wrong deeds from all time, and rejoice in the virtues of all. Please stay until samsara ceases, and turn the wheel of Dharma for us. I dedicate all virtues to great enlightenment. The ground sprinkled with perfume and spread with flowers, the great mountain for land, sun and moon, seen as a Buddha land and offered thus. May all beings enjoy such pure lands. I offer without any sense of loss the objects that give rise to my attachment, hatred, and confusion, my friends, enemies, and strangers, our bodies and enjoyments, Please accept these and bless me to be released directly from the three poisons. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. So now, my most kind root Guru, please sit on the lotus and moon on my crown, and grant me out of your great kindness your body, speech, and mind's attainments. I make request to you, Buddha Shakyamuni, whose body comes from countless virtues, whose speech fulfills the hopes of mortals, whose mind sees clearly all existence. I make request to you, Gurus of the lineage of extensive deeds, Venerable Maitreya, noble Sangha Vasubandhu, and all the other precious teachers who have revealed the path of vastness. I make request to you, Gurus of the lineage of profound view, Venerable Manjushri, Nagarjuna, Chandrakirti, and all the other precious teachers who have revealed the most profound path. I make request to you, Gurus of the lineage of secret mantra, Conqueror Vajradhara, Tilopa, and Naropa, and all the other precious teachers who have revealed the path of Tantra. I make request to you, Gurus of the old Kadam lineage, the second Buddha Tisha Drum Tomba Geshe Potawa, and all the other precious teachers who have revealed the union of vast and profound paths. I make request to you, Gurus of the new Kadam lineage, Venerable Tsongkhapa, Jampa Gyatso Kedrupche, and all the other precious teachers who have revealed the union of Sutra and Tantra. I make request to you, Venerable Khalsang Gyatso, protector of a vast ocean of living beings, unequal teacher of the paths to liberation and enlightenment, who accomplish and explain everything that was revealed by the fourth deliverer of this fortunate eon. I make request to you, my kind precious teacher, who care for those with uncontrolled minds, untamed by all the previous Buddhas, as if they were fortunate disciples. Please pour down your inspiring blessings upon myself and all my mothers, so that we may quickly stop all perverse minds from disrespect for our kind teacher, to the most subtle jewel appearance. Please pour down your inspiring blessings, so that we may quickly generate pure minds from respect for our kind teacher, to the supreme mind of union. Please pour down your inspiring blessings to pacify all outer and inner obstructions. Please pour down your inspiring blessings upon myself and all my mothers, so that we may quickly stop all perverse minds from disrespect for our kind teacher, to the most subtle jewel appearance. Please pour down your inspiring blessings, so that we may quickly generate pure minds from respect for our kind teacher, to the supreme mind of union. Please pour down your inspiring blessings to pacify all outer and inner obstructions. Please pour down your inspiring blessings upon myself and all my mothers, so that we may quickly stop all perverse minds from disrespect for our kind teacher, to the most subtle jewel appearance. Please pour down your inspiring blessings, so that we may quickly generate pure minds from respect for our kind teacher, to the supreme mind of union. Please pour down your inspiring blessings to pacify all outer and inner obstructions. From the hearts of all the holy beings, streams of light and nectar flow down, granting blessings and purifying. The path begins with strong reliance on my kind teacher, source of all good. Oh, bless me with this understanding to follow him with great devotion. This human life with all its freedoms extremely rare, with so much meaning. Oh, bless me with this understanding all day and night to seize its essence. My body like a water bubble decays and dies so very quickly. After death come results of karma, just like the shadow of a body. With this firm knowledge and remembrance, bless me to be extremely cautious, always avoiding harmful actions and gathering abundant virtue. Samsara's pleasures are deceptive, give no contentment, only torment. So please bless me to strive sincerely to gain the bliss of perfect freedom. Oh, bless me so that from this pure thought come mindfulness and greatest caution, to keep as my essential practice the doctrine's root, the Pratimoksha. Just like myself, all my kind mothers are drowning in samsara's ocean. Oh, so that I may soon release them, bless me to train in bodhicitta. But I cannot become a Buddha by this alone, without three ethics. So bless me with the strength to practice the Bodhisattva's ordination, by pacifying my distractions and analyzing perfect meanings. Bless me to quickly gain the union of special insight and quiescence. When I become a pure container through common paths, bless me to enter the essence practice of good fortune, the supreme vehicle Vajrayana. The two attainments both depend on my sacred vows and my commitments. Bless me to understand this clearly and keep them at the cost of my life. By constant practice in 4 sessions, the way explained by holy teachers. Oh, bless me to gain both the stages which are the essence of the Tantras. May those who guide me on the good path and my companions all have long lives. Bless me to pacify completely all obstacles, outer and inner. May I always find perfect teachers and take delight in holy Dharma. Accomplish all grounds and pass swiftly and gain the state of Vajradhara.
So remembering that we're surrounded by all living beings who, like ourselves, are drowning in this great ocean of suffering, samsara, and in the space before us is Guru Buddha and all the other enlightened beings, bodhisattvas, heroes and heroines and so forth, who are free from this ocean of suffering. And because they're free from suffering, they can help us to gain liberation ourselves. So with our mind of faith, focusing upon the three precious jewels in the space before us, and with their powerful blessings, we can contemplate the sufferings of samsara in particular. We can emphasize the sufferings of sickness, how because we take one contaminated life after another, a life conditioned by delusion, then we have without any choice to experience the sufferings of not only birth, aging, but sickness again and again in life after life. And until we attain liberation, this will be our experience forevermore. So we can contemplate and reflect on Buddha's words when he says, just as the wind and snow of winter take away the glory of green meadows, trees, forests and herbs, so sickness takes away the youthful splendor of our body, destroying its strength and the power of our senses. So if we're usually fit and well, when we become sick, we're suddenly unable to engage in our normal physical activities. We're like a bird that is shot that falls suddenly to the ground, completely helpless. So we've all experienced many different types of sickness, some minor, some major. And we have to do so without choice and just experience the unpleasant consequences of sickness. Sometimes our sickness is so severe we lose all capacity to look after ourselves, care for ourselves. Maybe we can't even be in control of our bodily functions. this is so hard for us to bear. People have to clean us, toilet us, wipe us. And of course, we cannot do our usual jobs and activities. And if our illness progresses, we become more and more frustrated and despondent, maybe angry or depressed. Because now we cannot enjoy our life at all. And this makes us more and more miserable. So not only do we have to experience the pains of the illness, but we also have to experience the things that we don't want, such as maybe unpleasant medications and procedures, operations, and so forth. Maybe we have to go without food and drink for a period. We have to stay confined to bed, maybe surrounded by others who are in pain and suffering. We can't sleep, and we can't walk without pain. Maybe we're confused because our situation isn't clearly explained to us. And if we learn that finally our sickness is incurable, as many people learn, and unless we've practiced Dharma, then we will grow more and more miserable, experiencing great anxiety and fear. Maybe we give up, become so depressed. Sickness is the enemy of everybody, destroys all happiness, all joy, and finally can deprive us of our very life. So right now, maybe we're relatively well, but sickness can strike any time upon anyone. So contemplate the sufferings of sickness, the sufferings of birth, the sufferings of aging. And come to the conclusion, I've experienced these sufferings over and over again in the past, and if I don't attain liberation, I will have to experience them over and over again in the future. How can I bear this? Therefore I must escape from samsara. I must escape from this ocean of suffering. It's unbearable and it's endless. Buddha shows us the path to liberation, gives us a route out. I must escape from samsara, try and generate that mind of renunciation. Meditate on it single-pointedly, without distraction. If you lose it, go back. Again, contemplate the various sufferings of this impure life until you resurrect that determination, that strong wish to find release from this ocean of samsara, ocean of suffering, and meditate on that wish without distraction. When we do these meditations, then deepen them by using your own experiences of these various types of suffering. Recall the pain, recall the misery, recall how these happen without choice. Maybe we have the false hope that we've got through our previous illnesses and maybe we won't get another one, or it won't be so bad. But whilst we're in samsara, we're never free from sickness. Eventually, there'll be no medication that can cure us. And if we haven't used our life for virtue through practicing Dharma, then when this realization of death comes, it'll be too late. We'll just be filled with great fear, great misery, and a lot of pain, and maybe deep regret. Buddha's blessings, with Sangha's help, and with my effort in practicing Dharma purely and sincerely right now, I must liberate myself from this deep, painful ocean of suffering. So for the last 2 minutes, try and generate and hold without distraction this mind of renunciation. I must liberate myself permanently from the sufferings of my countless future lives. I must put Dharma into practice purely and sincerely right now. Okay, so please relax your concentration and then we can recite the outlines together. The particular sufferings of each state of samsaric rebirth has two parts. The sufferings of the lower realms, the suffering of the higher realms. The sufferings of the higher realms has three parts. The sufferings of human beings, the sufferings of demigods, the sufferings of gods. The sufferings of human beings has seven parts: birth, aging, sickness, death, having to part with what we like, having to encounter what we don't like, failing to satisfy our desires. Birth has five parts: the extreme pains experienced in the womb and during birth, the unceasing pains we experience after birth. Birth is the basis for all the sufferings of life. Birth is the foundation for all delusions. Birth changes into death. Aging has five parts: loss of beauty and health, loss of physical strength and vitality, loss of power in our sense and mental faculties, loss of enjoyments, loss of lifespan. Sickness has five parts: loss of power and control over the functions of our body, increasing unhappiness, loss of enjoyments, having to experience what we don't want to experience, knowing that our sickness is incurable and that our life is coming to an end. Death has five parts: departing from our possessions, departing from our friends, departing from those who live and work with us, departing from our body, experiencing mental and physical pain. The three types of suffering has three parts: the suffering of manifest pain, changing suffering, pervasive suffering. Hello, good evening. Here we are again at home, me speaking to a camera. So this is such a big section, meditation on true sufferings, because we have to attack our attachment from all sides, because it's our attachment to samsaric pleasures, people, enjoyments, and so forth that is the big obstacle. We have no wish. Even though we have an understanding of the pains of samsara and the benefits of liberation and enlightenment, still, because that delusion, that evil inner delusion of uncontrolled desire, desirous attachment is so strong that it forces us against our wisdom to pursue these objects of desire, like moths to a flame. And of course, we get burnt again and again. And so the only way to control our desire is to meditate on the nature of samsara, looking at the unpleasantness, the suffering, how each and every life is pervaded by suffering. There is no hiding place from suffering in samsara. Lower realms, higher realms, still its nature is suffering. And once we get it, once we get that realization, I think, well, what am I doing? What on earth am I doing? Being so preoccupied and so interested with these ephemeral, temporary pleasures that are not real, just like illusions that deceive me again and again, distract me again and again, and waste my life and opportunity to attain real happiness, lasting happiness. So we need to go over these pages for our whole life, meditating on this, really strengthening that renunciation, developing it so it arises naturally, spontaneously, completely opposing our attachment. So we've looked at the sufferings of birth, aging and sickness, and now comes death. When we die, we've died so many times, endless times. The Lord of Death has destroyed our bodies again and again and again, and we've died in so many different ways. And he's going to take this life, just like he's taken all the rest. Some of our previous lives, we've been gods, we've been kings, we've had great power, but it's all gone. And what use is any of that now? We're still here, aren't we? Still stuck on the hamster wheel, the treadmill of samsara, going round and round and round. So we've got to get off the treadmill. So maybe let this be our last uncontrolled death. Or maybe let it not be an uncontrolled death at all. Let it be the last, maybe our previous life was our last uncontrolled death. We've got to learn to control death, transform death, so that we can maintain, at the time of death, we have the wits about us, the strength of practice about us, the experience for that last mind, gross mind, at the time of death, to be virtuous, to be happy mind at the time of death, virtuous mind at the time of death, because that will activate a virtuous seed. If we're not liberated, that will activate a virtuous seed within our mental continuum, which will protect us from lower rebirth. So, and we will definitely take a fortunate rebirth, where we can continue our spiritual practice if we haven't attained liberation in this life. Meet with all the necessary conditions and spiritual guide to pick up where we've left off in this life. And how we're going to meet death with a positive, happy mind? By learning to keep a positive, happy mind now, before death, isn't it? If we can't do it each and every day is our opportunity to deal with the difficulties that are coming, but hopefully not our death, but the difficulties coming, and meet them with a happy mind. Because, if somebody's slandering you, or you're held up in a traffic jam and you're getting irritated over those things, How on earth are you going to stay positive and happy when the world around you is disappearing from you? People are coming, circumstances arising where you know your death is definite and imminent. How are you going to keep a positive, happy mind then? But we can, if we train. Death is coming, whether we like it or not. So it makes sense to be prepared for death. And we'll only be prepared for our death through living a life of faith whilst we have the opportunity right now. Living in Buddha's presence, with him in front, with him at our heart, at our crown, remembering Dharma throughout the day, trying, at least just trying to put Dharma into practice during our day. But no one's going to make us, and these teachings are here to encourage us. But at the end of the day, we have to encourage ourselves. So death, when we die, we experience 5 main griefs. 1, departing from our possessions. 2, departing from our friends. 3, departing from those who live and work with us. 4, departing from our body. 5, experiencing mental and physical pain. Death. So these are the 5 main griefs. Departing from our possessions. If during our life we've worked hard to acquire possessions, and who hasn't in general, and if we have become very attached to them, and maybe we are, we will experience great suffering at the time of death, thinking, now I have to leave all my precious possessions behind, my precious things. You know, we're like snails, aren't we? Carrying our stuff around us, isn't it? Like, I was quite proud of myself the other day because I went down into the cellar and I got this bag, a golf bag and golf clubs that I've been carting around for 20 years. And I haven't used them for 11 years, you know. I thought, what on earth am I holding on to these? Why are they there still? I thought, get rid of them, you know. And I just felt lighter for just letting go. You know, we attach ourselves to things and carry them around with us. And the more attached we are, the harder it is to let them go. And it's hard even to, if somebody wants to borrow something, we find it hard. Can I borrow that book? Ugh, I love my books. I keep them so pristine. What if they what if they treat them badly? And there's just the thought of letting them go and having someone else is painful. The pain of attachment, isn't it? You know. So we need to practice giving, letting go. Because at the time of death, we're going to be ripped from everything. And the more attached we are, the more painful it is, and we'll die with the pain of attachment. That is the worst thing that can situation for us, dying with the pain of attachment, because that will just ripen some negative potentiality. And bye-bye, fortunate realms. Hello, lower realms. I know it sounds gloomy, but that's the truth. It's a process, samsara, you know. And nobody's deciding where you go. It's just a process. And, we're going to die. We're going to have a last gross mind. And whatever the state of mind that is, just ripens some imprint. And that's how it is for everyone. So we need to, with Buddha's blessings, his wisdom, we can understand the process and work with it. So, and then we can help other people die peacefully with a joyful mind, happy mind, whether another religion, just, oh yes, Jesus is with you, and blah, 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 whatever will help them develop faith or a happy, peaceful mind. Do whatever needs to be done, rather than what you don't want to be doing is hold, no, don't leave me, I can't bear it if you go. That just increases their suffering and pain of attachment. How can they let go when they see you so in pain that. So we need to work with our understanding to help others and to help ourselves. But death itself, if you have no spiritual training, is a traumatic process. Even now we find it difficult to lend one of our most treasured possessions to someone else, let alone to give it away. No wonder we become so miserable when we realize that in the hands of death we must abandon everything. Maybe you're so attached. Maybe it could be your reputation, to your wealth. You've worked so hard to get this money, and the thought of it all going to other people, it's like painful. Maybe you've been so attached to your partner, and now she'll be on her own, or maybe she'll be with someone else. These thoughts come. Departing from our friends. When we die, we have to part from even our closest friends. We have to leave our partner, even though we may have been together for years and never spent a day apart. Imagine that. Imagine. And this is the case for some people. They've been together their whole lives. And we met at school when we were 16. And we're now 90. We've been together. We've never had a day apart. I mean, just imagine that suffering and pain. They've cherished one another and all that time together. As Buddha said, all meetings end in partings, and that's the tragedy of samsara, that you cannot hold on and you cannot stay together. And imagine that suffering when one, often is the case, of one goes, the other one can quite quickly go because they get their heart is broken, literally. And they can't sustain their life anymore. And it's so painful. And even being separated from our friend, maybe we've had dear friends and now they're all going. We can't hold on to any of them. If we are very attached to our friends, we will experience great misery at the time of death. But all we will be able to do is hold their hands. We'll not be able to halt the process of death, even if they plead with us not to die. Chris, they're saying, they're all there. Chris, don't go. I don't want to go. Don't go. I don't want to, but I have no choice. I've got to go. It's painful. Maybe you don't want to go. They don't want you to go. The whole thing is charged with trauma, emotion. So unbearable. Usually, when we are very attached to someone, we feel jealous if they leave us on our own and spend time with someone else. But when we die, we will have to leave our friends with others forever. So if you've experienced that jealousy, you know how unbearable it is. And just temporarily, a good friend or partner is spending time with someone else and you find it so gut-wrenching, unbearable. That jealousy. But, in death, gone forever. Departing from those who live and work with us. When we die, we have to leave our spiritual guides, our family and all the people who have helped us in this life. In the texts, our spiritual guide is our closest friend and helper. But even our spiritual guide cannot stop death, and we cannot keep hold of him or her. Everything comes to an end at the time of our death. All the things that have sustained us, the people who have helped us and cared for us, all gone at that time. We leave alone. We enter this world alone and empty-handed, and we leave alone and empty-handed. So, we've got to use our imagination, think. So we use the words as guidelines to allow your mind to use your own experiences of temporary separations and temporary partings and the pains of attachment. And then, like, what's it going to be like when I die, actually die? And I'm suddenly recognizing this death is coming. What's that going to feel like? And this is our samsara, isn't it? With sufferings of birth, end up into the sufferings of death. And it happens again and again and again and again. Buddha is beyond that. Departing from our body. When we die, this body that we've cherished and cared for in so many ways will have to be left behind, isn't it? What is the object that we love and care for, we are slave to? It's our body. The body. We do everything for our body, don't we? Everything for our body. We try and find people to stroke it and pat it, and we perfume it, and we feed it and dress it and walk it, don't we? And prance around, photograph it, everything. We get so upset if people criticize it, and we will fight and kill to get things that will please it or harm those who displease it. But when we need it, most of all, it just lets us down, doesn't it? It will become mindless, like a stone, and will be buried in the ground or cremated. That's it. Experiencing mental and physical pain. If we have not practiced Dharma and cultivated virtuous actions, at the time of death, we will experience fear and distress as well as physical pain. So physical pain is coming, because that's what death is. And for most people, if you're not well versed in Dharma and virtuous actions, then we experience a lot of fear and distress at that time as well. The thing is, sometimes we're around people when they die, but people are so medicated up at the time of death. It all looks very peaceful and so forth, but we don't know what their inner experiences are. So we need to help people die peacefully, happily, and that's only going to come through our own practice of Dharma. We can transform even physical pain into something very useful. Use our physical pain as a bridge to think about the physical pains of others. So then compassion arises, so we move our mind off ourselves. So we overcome that self-pity, which increases the misery, and the even experience of physical pain increases. We use our Dharma understanding, using that suffering itself as a bridge to move over to other people. Maybe we're in hospital in pain, dying, and we can think about all the other people in hospital experiencing physical pain, and often far, far worse. And just allow if you've practiced this during your life, equalizing, exchanging yourself, practicing taking and giving, practicing cherishing others, compassion as your main practice, and especially the physical pains you have during your life, immediately try to move your mind to other people and empathize with others, connect with others through your own suffering, then compassion will come, and then you can use that at the time of your death. Your own physical pain can be a conduit, a path, a bridge to others that can enable that compassionate mind to arise. But for most people, that's not the case. When we meditate on the sufferings of death, we can recall the signs of death and how we experience these without choice. So we're going to look at this coming up, the signs of death, the minds of death, the distant signs of death, the close signs of death, and so forth. And we have to experience these again and again without choice. When our consciousness departs from our body, all the potentialities we have accumulated in our mind by performing virtuous and non-virtuous actions will go with it. So if we've used this life in the service of others to practice Dharma to the best of our ability, then we will have a great accumulation of virtue, because part of that is dedication, so we're protecting it, we're the objects of our actions are the three precious jewels, and mother sentient beings acting as objects of patience, love, compassion, and so forth. So we can accumulate through this life a great collection of virtue. Or because our mind is full of delusions and we have little or no faith, and we're just driven by delusion, then we will naturally accumulate many non-virtuous actions, because our self-grasping and self-cherishing are so strong, our desires are so strong, we just naturally neglect others or harm others in order to satiate our own desires and to protect ourself, and ourself being most precious and important. We respond to harm and criticism with harm and retaliate, don't we, out of anger and so forth, accumulating many negative actions, destroying whatever virtues we've got in our mind through those negative actions. So what we put in our mind is what goes with us to our next life, and what goes with us to our next life determines what we'll experience in those future lives. So and that's all that goes, those imprints of our actions. When our consciousness departs from our body, all the potentialities we've accumulated in our mind by performing virtuous and non-virtuous actions will go with it. Other than these, we cannot take anything else out of this world. Nothing. That's it. So we're heading to our next life. So putting time and effort into accumulating stuff that has to be left behind is a complete waste of time. Because other than what's in your mind, everything else has to be left behind. We've got to face the future without reputation, without wealth, without anything, house, job, everything of this world, even of this body, is left behind. The only thing that goes with us is what we've put into our mind. All other things deceive us. Death ends all our activities, our conversation, our eating, our meeting with friends, our sleep. Everything draws to a close on the day of our death. And we must leave all things behind, even the rings on our fingers, isn't it? The rings on our fingers. Here it is, my wedding ring. Even that, I've never taken it off. It's never been off for the last 30 years, But that will be left behind. Everything is left behind. My children, everything. We've relied on these things so much, but they deceive us because they cannot help us in the future. The only thing that can help us is what we've put into our mind, the virtue that we've put in. that comes from practicing Dharma. So we need to know this. Everyone needs to know this, because everyone's going to die. Everyone's got a future life. That's why we want Dharma to flourish throughout the world, so everyone can understand what's important. Keeping virtue in mind, cherishing one another, developing world peace through acting kindly and considerately and with virtue, with wisdom, with compassion. Everybody needs to do that. So this life can be relatively joyful, but we create the causes and take with us a great quantity of virtue into our next lives that will even produce a better life than this life. Or our virtue is so huge that we're liberated from suffering, or have the virtue of a Buddha that is a source of happiness for all living beings. In Tibet, beggars used to carry a stick to defend themselves against dogs. To understand the complete deprivation of death, Tibetans remember that at the time of death, beggars have to leave even this old stick, the most meagre of human possessions. All over the world we can see the names carved on stone. We can see that names carved on stone are the only possessions of the dead. That's what's left, isn't it? It could be a stick, or it could be a name left on a stone. That's it. And we're going to be that. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow, who knows? We're just going to be left. What's going to be left is a name on a stone, maybe, if you're lucky. Not that you'll mind, because you won't be here, but that's what will be left. We can contemplate the example of Prince Siddhartha, who could have possessed every worldly thing he desired. I mean, imagine that. Imagine having the merit to be able to possess anything you desire. People dream about that, don't we? You know, like we go for the lottery. We want the big one. El Gordo, the fat one, whatever it is, the big one. We'd want so much money, I can do everything I could possibly want. All my dreams would come true. I'd be so happy. This is what we think. This drives people. I want more and more and more so I can fulfill all my wishes. So we can contemplate the example of Prince Siddhartha, who could have possessed every worldly thing he desired. We think, well, that would be wonderful. His father's kingdom had great resources, and it was hoped that Siddhartha would become the future king. His parents arranged for him to have all kinds of pleasure, and they gave him many beautiful consorts. So it's like could anything, son, anything, anyone, anything, just name it. Oh, it's yours. Boom, like that. But one day, Prince Siddhartha ventured outside the pleasure palace, and there he saw, in turn, a sick person, an old person, a corpse, and a monk. When he had seen and contemplated these things, so it's not just seeing them, he then thought deeply, that's what contemplation is. When he'd thought deeply about these things, Prince Siddhartha developed a strong interest in Dharma. And he left the palace to meditate in the forest. So seeing these things, seeing a sick person, an old person, a corpse, he also saw a mother in giving birth, the screams of a baby. He saw these things and he contemplated, and he saw a monk who was using his life wisely. And he thought, what is the purpose? What is the meaning of all this great wealth when you have no choice but to experience such pain and sickness, but not just once, again and again and again? You know, having all distracting yourself and having all these things is just superficial, is just so temporary and so deceptive, because it cannot hold back these four great rivers of suffering. His father tried to dissuade him, but Prince Siddhartha said, "If you can guarantee that I will not experience the sufferings of sickness, old age, death, and rebirth, I will stay in the palace and become the king after you. If you can stop me having to experience these sufferings, I'll stay king, Dad." But if you can't, you have no ability with all the power of at your disposal as a king to stop this suffering, then I'm going. And he said, "Do you have a perfect method that will protect me from these dangers? Please, if you have one, teach me what it is, and I will come happily. I will come home happily. However, if you do not possess such a method, there is nothing in my worldly life that can offer real protection from these four rivers of suffering. Not even my mother can protect me from these miseries. Only Dharma provides protection. Therefore, I must practice Dharma. I must practice Dharma." He came to that conclusion. He saw those sufferings and he realized the only meaning in life is to practice Dharma so that you can turn to something that can actually protect you from suffering. Dharma. Go for refuge. Since his father could not offer Prince Siddhartha a method for gaining perfect freedom, the prince stayed in the forest, and by practicing Dharma, he became enlightened and revealed how all living beings can attain the same state. So thank goodness for you and me are here and have this amazing opportunity, because he made that the right decision to stay in the forest and practice Dharma, and he became enlightened. And he then turned the wheel of Dharma. And it's those teachings coming from this prince who became Buddha, it's those teachings, these teachings that are now being spreading across the world through the kindness of our spiritual guide, Venerable Geshe-la, as modern Buddhism, Buddha's teachings on Sutra and Tantra that will enable us, just as it enabled Prince Siddhartha, to attain liberation and full enlightenment. So how kind of Buddha. So we need to think about suffering, not hide from suffering, see the suffering in our life, in the lives of others, understand it's endless and continuous like a river flowing day and night, and then come to that decision. I must practice, use this life. You don't have to go into a forest, just come here and find a room, sit comfortably in a retreat, and or at home, find a nice place. Put Dharma into practice, meditate every day with faith, with concentration, understanding that, we have a precious life, but it's not permanent. And meditate on these teachings until these spiritual realizations grow in your mind. And then apply them to your daily life, remembering Dharma when we're out and about. And then go back into meditation and out of meditation and in meditation, but all the time trying to hold on to Dharma, keep Dharma in the mind. Having to part with what we like. Before the final separation at the time of death, we often have to experience temporary separation from the people and things we like. We may have to leave our country where all our friends and relatives live. Or we may have to leave the job we like. So we have many temporary separations even before death, don't we? And they're all painful. Maybe you've lived in a country and suddenly they're not renewing your visa and you're having to be told you've got to go. It means we have people here who suddenly have to go. and they don't want to because they like it here, but they have no choice. They've got to go for whatever reason. Maybe you're in a job you like, and you suddenly your position has become untenable, or that the position no longer exists, and you're told to leave. Oh, but I like the job. Sorry, it's gone, and you have to leave your work and the people. Maybe you have to leave your country, and so forth. Many temporary separations that we have to experience, parting from things that we like. We may lose our reputation. Many times in this life, we have to experience the misery of departing from the people we like, or forsaking and losing the things we find pleasant and attractive. But when we die, we have to part forever from all the companions and enjoyments of this life. We cannot hold on, we cannot keep, we're not in control, Um, and so some people are so anxious because they want to keep things together, and they work so hard, and they find that, but it's impossible to hold on to things and keep things together. Everything is impermanent, and there's many external causes and conditions, as well as our karma at work. So that everything is changing. So we can't, and we know this. So if we're grasping tightly, rigidly at things to work out how we want to be as we want them to be, things to stay together, people to stay together, things to be as they are, then it's very painful because that's not our experience of life. And it's inevitable for everyone that you're going to have to part with, if my wife or somebody's lover or partner wants to go, they will go. And there's nothing I can do. Even if I don't want them to, they will go because I'm not in control. And it's painful. Anyway, so we've got a few more of these pages to come, but we'll stop there. So we just need to keep thinking and then use this when we do lose the things that we like, when we have to encounter the things that we don't like, when we find our desires are continually being frustrated, then we need to use these experiences to, rather than to get frustrated and despondent or angry, we need to use them, channel them with wisdom into renunciation. Well, this is because I'm in this samsaric state of uncontrolled rebirth, and this is entirely natural. This is the way it is in samsara. And if I don't like it, then I need to get out. So channel it into the mind of, not of resentment and irritation, but into joyful, this is it. I've had enough. This is reminding me, that my main practice is renunciation, renunciation, renunciation. Don't be deceived by things when things are going well. Think, I can rest now. Everything's fine. La la la. Just go through life. No, because then maybe we'll stop. If we're only practicing Dharma when things are going badly, we'll be very part-time Dharma practitioners. We need to be practicing Dharma continuously. So if we can't channel the bad things into renunciation, how are we going to channel when things are going well into renunciation? So we need to use every opportunity. Okay, so we'll stop there. Thank you very much. And we'll do our dedication prayer. Thank you.
Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Soha. Om Muni Muni Maha Muniya Soha. Through the virtues I have collected, by practicing the stages of the path, may all living beings find the opportunity to practice in the same way. However many living beings there are, experiencing mental and physical suffering, may their suffering cease through the power of my merit, and may they find everlasting happiness and joy. May everyone experience the happiness of humans and gods, and quickly attain enlightenment, so that samsara is finally extinguished. For the benefit of all living beings as extensive as space, may I attain great wisdom like that of Manjushri, great compassion like that of Avalokiteshvara, great power like that of Vajrapani. The Buddha Dhamma is the supreme medicine that relieves all mental pain, so may this precious Dhamma jewel pervade all worlds throughout space. May there arise in the minds of all living beings great faith in Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and thus may they always receive the blessings of the three precious gems. May there never arise in this world the miseries of incurable disease, famine, or war, or the dangers of earthquakes, fires, floods, storms, and so forth. May all mother beings meet precious teachers, who reveal the stages of the path to enlightenment, and through engaging in this path, may they quickly attain the ultimate peace of full enlightenment. Through the blessings of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, the truth of actions and their effects, and the power of my pure superior intention, may all my prayers be fulfilled. So that the tradition of Tsongkhapa, the King of the Dhamma, may flourish. May all obstacles be pacified, and may all favorable conditions abound. Through the two collections of myself and others, gathered throughout the three times, may the doctrine of Conqueror Losandrapa flourish forevermore. Tsongkhapa, crown of the land of the scholars of the Lord of the Snows. You are Buddha Shakyamuni and Vajradhara, the source of all attainments. Avalokiteshvara, the treasury of unobservable compassion. Manjushri, the supreme stainless wisdom. And Vajrapani, the destroyer of the hordes of martyrs. O venerable Guru Buddha, synthesis of all three truths, with my body, speech, and mind, respectfully I make request. Please grant your blessings to ripen and liberate myself and others, and bestow Sunkapa, crown ornament of the scholars of the land of the snows. You are Buddha Shakyamuni and Vajradhara, the source of all attainments. Avalokiteshvara, the treasury of unobservable compassion. Manjushri, the supreme stainless wisdom. And Vajrapani, the destroyer of the horse of Maras. O venerable Guru Buddha, synthesis of all issues, with my body, speech, and mind, respectfully I make request. Please grant your blessings to ripen and liberate myself and others, and bestow the common and supreme attainments. Sankapa, crown ornament of the scholars of the land of the snows. You are Buddha Shakyamuni and Vajradhara, the source of all attainments. Avalokiteshvara, the treasury of unobservable compassion. Manjushri, the supreme stainless wisdom. And Vajrapani, the destroyer of the horse of Maras. O venerable Guru Buddha, synthesis of all issues, with my body, speech, and mind, respectfully I make request. Please grant your blessings to ripen and liberate myself and others, and bestow the common and supreme attainment.
Stay tuned. I think there's a few announcements from our magnificent EPC, Agnes, coming up. Other than that, I'll see you next week. Thank you. Have a good week.
Hello, everybody. I just wanted to give you a reminder that this weekend we have an upcoming online Vajrasattva purification retreat with Kadam Bridget Hayes. So we are starting at 7:30 till 8:30 p.m. is the first session on Friday. So it's Friday the 13th. And the retreat, I think there's 5 sessions on Saturday and Sunday, as well as on Monday there are, I think, 2 more sessions and a Q&A. So if after retreat you will have any questions, you can email them to us. And I believe Kadam Bridget will do her best to address them. So it's a great opportunity for all of us after having the refuge retreat to also get engaged to purify some obstructions, inner obstructions, our negative karma, and so on. And Buddha gave many methods to purify, but he said that Vajrasattva is the most effective. So I would highly recommend you to tune in. The sessions will be actually live streamed, so if you want to feel like you're here with us. Just tune in at the time. But also the teachings will be available for 2 weeks. So that's all from me. I hope you are going to hear that out. I will definitely send us a reminder on our FP group on WhatsApp, so the information won't miss you. Other than this, have a lovely night and hopefully see you, maybe not see you, but meet with you mentally on Friday night with Kadam Hayes. Thank you.